Alright, hey sir, this is Cadet Alex Daly. This is take 3 on the video. We're just going to run you through our model here real quick, orient you to all the aspects of the deliverable that we need to have at this point. So right here, you can see the main part of our dashboard in military income. Here we have salary, whether or not you have a dependent, housing allowance, current grade, years in service, zip code, estimated grade at ETS, percentage salary towards your TSP, DoD contributions towards your TSP, amount that goes towards your TSP monthly based on those, your special pay type, amount, and how many years you incur special pay. Next you have just a couple things that we have for the future just going forward to include taxes. We'll talk a little bit about inflation, and then started getting into the civilian aspect of everything. But the focus on our model, everything in bold are those are options that you alter as a user. So first two things we wanted to take a look at was overall salary and housing allowance. These were two of the more complicated portions of this model. So what we wanted to do for the salary was we did a VLOOKUP. We based it on your current grade and years in service based on the base pay chart. So it takes into effect the VLOOKUP accounts for everything in this axis on the y-axis, and then the match function within the VLOOKUP accounts for everything on the x-axis. So it's able to pinpoint a specific location in the entire table, which allows us to pinpoint the actual salary. The most complicated part of the model is the housing allowance. We had to do 3 nested VLOOKUPs in order to do this. We first downloaded the zip codes. This was an original text file that came with the initial BAH files and everything. So it has like 20-some thousand zip codes, and it has the MHA identifier codes. And what we did was create a VLOOKUP that matches a zip code to the identifier, and then from the zip code that was identified in the MHA value, it then goes into this sheet and matches the MHA value to the MHA name, so the actual location where you're at. And then the third aspect of the nested VLOOKUP is matching this location, say Phoenix, Arizona, with your rank. So if you're in E6 in Phoenix, Arizona, you're making 1215, and we derive that from the MHA value based on the original zip code. That just makes everything a little more user friendly. It looks complicated, and there's an if statement included in there to factor in whether or not you have a dependent. It's either going to be 0 or 1, and that'll account for that. So I mean, you can mess around with this and just see how each of those things are affected. Yeah, main things that change, like I said, are your salary and housing allowance, and those will change also, like I said, based on whether or not you have a dependent. Yep. So you can input your zip code right here. Right here we have the West Point one. I'll put in my home address right here just to show that it works. Yeah. So housing allowance will change based on location. So next we have our we also have our estimated grade at ETS. This will kind of factor in a little bit later when we start calculating the overall lifetime earnings. Next we have our DoD our contributions toward our TSP, and these are user. This is a user-defined value right here. Anything between 1 and 5% or 0 and 5%. DoD automatically donates 1% regardless of how much you donate. That's why it says 1% right now for the DoD contribution towards the TSP. So if we were to put 1% in, DoD contributes to, so on and so forth, all the way up to 5%, and this value is based off the monthly value, which is a accumulation of your salary, housing allowance, and whether or not you have special pay.
Is it doing it? Hey sir, this is Cadet McLeroy. I'm going to explain to you our tax bracket portion of the model real quick. As we all know, the tax bracket in the United States is based off the amount of income you make. For instance, the 39% tax bracket is the upper tier of the income made in the United States. So instead of doing percentages, we decided to be easier in the user interface and for the user if we did the average amount of taxes paid per year. For instance, you can sit here and look at the 2 million to the $1.5 million income. The average taxes paid per year for that bracket is over $400,000. This is not including any deductions, loopholes, whether they be legal or illegal. This is just raw amount of taxes paid per year for the last fiscal year according to the U.S. Census for the roughly 144 tax filings that occurred that year. Next we move on to special pay. Special pay, you can see, ranges from E1 to O10, spanning the rank range in the Army. The user has the ability to select from numerous pay incentives, including aviation hazardous pay, hostile fire, foreign language proficiency, diving and sea duty, and certain medical pays. It's important to note that in the aviation and hazardous duty pay, there's a difference in certain pay grades. For instance, an 07 will get paid less hazardous pay than 06. Hostile fire, imminent dangers, constant across the board. Foreign language proficiency pay, that is assumed to be a DFL 4 language proficiency kept up to the required DoD standard and actually used in the job. If all those requirements are met, $1,000 across the board for all pay grades. Diving and sea duty pay stays constant for the officers and stays constant for the enlisted. The enlisted make $100 more. Medical pay varies again across the pay grades. Special duty pay levels are not included initially in this model. It's something we'll include later on as we get more information. This is not based off our pay grades. Our pay grades are the foundation of this model. These special duty pay levels can apply to any pay grade. For instance, an 08 could get a special duty pay level of 1, whereas an E2 could get a special duty pay of 5. It wouldn't matter the pay grade. It matters whatever dictates the special duty pay level. Next is the health profession specialty pay. This is an annual stipend given to board certified professionals, usually within the medical community, to incentivize them to stay in the Army as opposed to the civilian sector. This was also not included because there are certain criteria that each of the user has to meet. For instance, if you're an orthopedic intern in the Army, you will not receive the $36,000 specialty annual amount pay. So this, again, has to be reevaluated and made easy for the user to use. Something not included in our model is the GI Bill pay, the post 9/11 GI Bill, and included with the ending of the Montgomery GI Bill. Both of those weren't included, especially the post 9/11, because of the allowance for education. Attending a degree granting institution varied. We initially thought to do a type of pay system that was based off the average education in each state, the average college tuition in each state, but certain institutions won't match. For instance, a very popular degree in the military is for graduate school is the MBA programs. One could go to the Princeton School of Business and not pay anything out of pocket, whereas the average veteran with a yellow ribbon participating school for the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton Business School will pay $30,000 out of pocket because they only match a certain amount. So some schools are unlimited, whereas some schools will only offer $10,000, which is matched by the VA again. So the amount of educational benefit you get from the GI Bill varies. The amount of BAH stays constant, E5, depending on your location, which is linked to our zip codes with 2 dependents. Book stipends remain constant, but the biggest factor is the education. That can span anywhere from a $400,000 education at the Wharton School of Business to your average community college education. Again, that has to be readjusted for better user interface and user preferences. Sir, this concludes our video.